Hi, everybody, and welcome to season 2 of the Man Cave Chronicles. Your host, James Dean Littlejohn. How the devil are you? Hopefully, you are doing okay. We are only on day 11 of the new year 2026. I just want to start off by saying Happy New Year. This is my first podcast because I did one on New Year's Eve. I think I did it. And that kind of it put me out of sync a little bit. So I needed to wait a little bit of time. I didn't really want to, I need fresh thoughts. I need to be in the mood. I need to relax and get myself into the zone, if you like. So, but hopefully you're okay. Hopefully you are, like I say, only day 11 in the new year, but hopefully you've got yourself off to a nice, good start. Something is coming along. I don't know, maybe, like you say, maybe the foundation of 2025 is giving you the kickstart you needed to break into 2026 with positivity. I've got lots to talk about. As you well know, I like to document things. I like to write things down. Things were piling up in my notes, and I thought to myself, James, now's the time. You need to get back on the podcast. You need to get that positivity out there. It's interesting, actually, because like I said, I was doing my last podcast. I was talking very much about 2025, a good reflection period over the Christmas period, and a good reflection time, and sort of taking away the wins that came for 2025 to make sure that I started 2026 positively. That was my ambition. That was what I want to do. Start off positively. Like I said, we're on day 11 of January already, and normally January feels like it's about 7 months long, but it seems to be motoring along nicely. It seems to be good so far. We shall touch the wood as much as we can. But yeah, lots to talk about, lots to break into, because I really want to sort of drive some positivity this year. Like I say, for me, the podcast is invaluable. It gives me it's my forum to be able. The reason I break into this straight away is because somebody said to me the other day, there's a couple of people that listen to this that are in my sort of work circle, if you like. So it's interesting. They said, "Oh, do you not get nervous about what you're going to say or worry that you're going to offend people?" And I'm saying, well, no, I don't actually, because I don't. This isn't to offend people. This is my personal journey. This is me battling mental health. This is me battling ADHD, autism, and learning about it. Not so much battling it. I don't believe I battle it anymore. Not as much as I used to in my 30s, my 20s and 30s. And I'll talk about that a lot actually today, because I want to talk about the differences as you age. And I suppose some of the positives and some of the negatives that I think that are coming with sort of managing the neurodivergency as I get a little bit older. So, it's very much like I say, for me, that's my focus. That's where I wanted to go. I wanted to analyze 2025. I wanted to make sure that it was I started positively, really, because, you know, like I said to you before, like I've said to you previously, actually, quite a few times, I don't, this isn't about this journey, this podcast. I was thrown by the music in the background, actually, threw me a little bit. I started singing back in the back of my head what the lyrics were, because I do it to try and distract myself, to have something to distract that bit that tells me to go off on a tangent somewhere. I try to put the music on to distract my mind. But anyway, digress. But no, do I get embarrassed is what I was asking. And I was like, no, I don't. I don't get embarrassed because I don't say anything to offend people. I say things about the challenges that I'm facing, and I suppose this is just really like an inner monologue. But for me, I don't think about the other people on the other side of this camera. I genuinely don't. I don't think about the comments. I don't think about anything like that. This is 110% a process for me, because I do lots of different things, as you know, and I will break straight into a bit of ADHD. You will understand that with ADHD comes lots of challenges on the face side of on the face of it, but there's a lot of deep things that come along with ADHD, and it's things like the need to search for dopamine. And I talk about it, I think for me that's probably one of the most negatives, I think, of ADHD is the lack of dopamine. I don't really there's certain aspects of ADHD that come along, and like the misorganization and things like that. Time management can be quite poor. Again, some of those I don't naturally face because of the autism side, so I'm kind of like a bit balanced in some of the areas that people sort of worry. But for me, the one that does really crop up quite a bit is the dopamine. The bit that because no matter what happens with any of my neurodivergency, the dopamine bit, I'd love to have normal dopamine. I'd love to naturally feel content with the most basic of the things. I really would, but I don't. Like, literally, if it doesn't give me adrenaline, I'm genuinely not interested. But what comes with those challenges of looking and searching for dopamine is you struggle when you don't find it, and you do stupid things to try and find it. But for me, that's like probably one of the biggest drawbacks, I think, to ADHD is the dopamine, because you can put yourself into a lot of really difficult scenarios, a lot of difficult situations where you shouldn't be there, you shouldn't be doing this, you've done something. Now, I'm not saying it's an excuse. I genuinely am not saying it's an excuse, but you will do a lot of things that will get you into a lot of predicaments that you shouldn't be in, because you've chased that adrenaline, you've chased the dopamine. Now, a lot of people would say, well, it's common sense, but I'll be honest with you, this is the side where I have debates with people. And like I say, for me, it's raising awareness, which is one of the reasons why, again, I don't get embarrassed. It's also identifying the challenges that we have to face on a daily basis that wouldn't normally be faced by a neurotypical person. So for me, it's kind of like showing you really what the differences are, because I think it's really important, because those differences are huge negatives in a normal everyday life. Like I say, I don't get content about the basic of things. If I showed you, like I said, I always say, and I've just realised straight away then that I'm saying, like I said, so I'm going to apologise. I've instantly picked up that I'm saying that quite a bit today, so I need to nip that in the bud. It will slow down in a minute when I calm down. Everything will calm once I get going. I get used to it. It's like one of those things. I don't know whether I'm worried about my mic as well, because I can't seem to get it right. But anyway, Christ, there you go, digressing everywhere. But yeah, for me, the biggest issue that I find is dopamine. I struggle because it's put me in so many difficult situations, and I've done so many stupid things over my life. And it's trying to explain to people why I do that. And it's really, really hard, because a dopamine deficiency, unless you physically have a dopamine deficiency, you'll never really understand it, because I don't get content with the most of basic things. I really don't. It has to be extreme. It has to be crazy. It has to be wild. It has to be almost putting stress on my body, heart, mind, whatever it may be. Now, I've had a plethora of situations. Like I said, I've already divulged into some of the things. I've been in fights before previously when I was younger. I was always arrested for drunk and disorderly, because I used to just get absolutely bomb drunk and completely forget where I was, and do stupid shit, whatever it may be. So I've had a bit of a turmoil of an upbringing, really, because it's difficult to try and explain to people why you do it. And this is, I suppose, the gap that I really want to highlight, because it's extreme, and you only have to, like, for me, I'm trying to explain what the basics of dopamine would be. Like I'll give you an instance, right? So I drove. This is how weird, but how that adrenaline can go. So I went out on Saturday on my own. Went to the local city and wanted to go and get some Lego, because I've got a bit of Manius influenza, hence the water. So I'm a bit bunged up, sound a bit nasally, sound a bit raspy. So I apologise straight away. Actually, I should have apologised at the start, but I'll apologise 10 minutes in. That I apologise for the raspy throat. I've got a bit of a sore throat. So I wanted to try and pass the time on Saturday. I was like, go and get some Lego, just go and chill out, get a bit of water, put some music on, generally sit in the man cave. And I've done some bits. I'll probably show you in a bit. But yeah, for me, it's so I went along, but so I didn't drive my van. I drove my wife's car. She's got a nice Audi, and it's the S-Line one. It's quite quick, and I'm not used to driving it, because I drive the old battle bus. I drive the old VW T5. I love that. Fucking love. Every man should have a van. I keep saying this. But I drove, because it was an automatic S-Line, and I put it in S Sport. I just drove stupidly in it, and I don't know why. I even came back after driving stupidly. I would consider stupidly. What do you mean? What do you consider stupid? I wouldn't say it was dangerous driving by any stretch of imagination. I'd be sat here literally giving myself up to the police and recording it for them. So there you go, But no, it wasn't stupid driving. It was just fast acceleration, like fast cornering, just stuff that you wouldn't normally do. Bearing in mind, I'm 45 this year. You would think I might calm down a little bit, but I didn't. I was driving, just being fucking a bit of a loony, really. And I kind of, at the time, didn't really think about it. I just kind of had music playing. I was singing. I was karaokeing in the car. I was having a good time. But everything was all there. I'd had a good time. I dived into town. I went straight to the shops. I put music on when I was going around. I was dancing. I was in a jolly place. Adrenaline was high. Dopamine was high. I was on my own. And then I came back and had a massive crash out. And then I had instant regret because I was like, oh, fuck, what if I've been done for speeding? Was I speeding? And then I start procrastinating about everything, running through the whole journey. What sort of speeds was I doing? Was I doing excessive speeds? I don't think so. Was I following the traffic? I don't know. I think I was following the traffic. Did I do any stupid overtaking? All of these things, when I came back, were like, it was like offloading. It's almost like, to try and explain that to you in sort of layman's terms, the ADHD bit was fucking running along like a fucking Looney Tune. Got loads of adrenaline there. And then afterwards, when he'd settled down and he'd got his dopamine and he's gone to sleep, what would be perceived as probably the normal person, if you like. For me, I get the other aspect of neurodivergency. I get the procrastination, the worry, the stress. Have I been done for speeding? What if I get done for speeding? I've just, all of these things sort of question, that's a fine. Oh, fuck, that's going to be money. That's all. All of these things start running through your head, and then you feel guilty. And then you actually think back and say, I don't think I was. I was accelerating hard and I was driving fast around the corners, but that was just because of the adrenaline. There was no safety issues. But again, that's the guilt of the neurodivergency. And I suppose that's, for me, that's just really highlighting, people might get into a nice car and get a little, woo, yeah, a little adrenaline from a fast acceleration. No, I'm like, I want to get through the fucking gears, and I'm looking at, right, I'm going to get to the roundabout and I'll fucking overtake that one on the slip road to the fucking, to the motorway, all these sorts of things. And then it's not until afterwards you think, fucking hell, mate, you fucking absolute Looney Tune. But it's hard to control that. And I suppose for me, that's like the biggest, like I said, that's the biggest thing I can say, hand on heart. It's hard to explain to people. It's hard to even understand, because I don't fully understand it. I just know that all I know in my head is there's a lack of dopamine. It's never really there. And what I do know is I feel very, very content when I do stupid things. Or I say stupid, they're not stupid, but they would be perceived as stupid. Like, I suppose, like cold water dipping in the sea on New Year's Day at fucking 9 o'clock in the morning. Not many people would do that. People might do it for a challenge or a bit of a laugh. The odd few people. You get groups of outdoor swimmers that do it, but it's a minority. People might be perceived as seeing that as a bit stupid. And you would, like I say, the minority of people do that. The majority of the nation will not be out fucking swimming in the sea where any longer than 5 minutes and you could potentially die of hypothermia. So that's the extreme. That's like, that would be classed as extreme for most people. Whereas for me, I cold water dip every single night at at 4 degrees. So I'm used to it. For me, that's the adrenaline I have to give myself daily to be able to feel content. So I do it normally at 9:30 every single night. I do a absolute fucking brutal cold water dip every single night to completely and utterly exhaust myself so that I can go through shock, I can get the adrenaline, I can get the dopamine, and I can go to bed and I have a sound night's sleep. That's the only way I can physically sleep. So for me, otherwise, I get maybe 3, maybe 4 hours sleep. I'll drift off around about 2 o'clock. I'll normally sleep about 2. I normally sleep till about 6-ish, 5:30 at the latest. That's where I normally get to. Whereas I've noticed now when I have a cold dip at 10 o'clock and I go to bed for 11, I'm normally exhausted and asleep by 11:30 because I've completely engulfed myself with dopamine. And then you get this massive high, which people we perceived as like, I would go in there for 30 seconds. Again, it's quite a rarity. The minority of people will try cold water therapy. I'm a minority in that sense. So I do it to exhaust myself. That's a coping mechanism that I've instilled to manage my ADHD to get more than fucking 4 hours sleep. That's what I've had to do. Whereas most people see it as like, I do it for well-being or mental health. And yes, it is great for mental health, great for well-being, great for weight loss as well. It's great to shock the nervous system. But for me, it's become a necessity. It's become to the point where I have to do it to sleep, and I get a better sleep for it. So that's a coping mechanism with a chiller that I've had to instill in my life. I didn't have to. I did. I instilled it to give it a go, and it worked. So for me, that's like a coping mechanism that I have to have in place to be able to sleep. Otherwise, I'm sat there doing fucking doom scrolling or planning, like Pinky in the Brain. I'm planning to take over the fucking world. I don't know, whatever my brain decides to do. It's a fucking minefield. So I suppose for me, it's that kind of gap. And I really want to emphasize the gap of the differences. So, it's like people may get, I don't know, a bit of dopamine from a kiss. wouldn't even fucking bat an eyelid. Full on fucking good on neck on session, whatever. You'll start to get the adrenaline because you feel like you're going to go into somewhere, maybe it leads to sex, whatever it may be. But that's my thought process. If you just give me a peck and hold my hand, I've got no interest. I don't hold hands because I'm like, I've got no interest in holding hands. What is it going to lead to? It's just going to make my hands hot and sweaty. And I don't like it. So, I don't hold hands. But again, even thinking about that, that's probably one of the autistic things because I don't like touch and I'm really sensitive about sort of smells and tastes and touch and all that sort of stuff. So I suppose probably maybe that's why. But yeah, you might get an adrenaline. So you might get a little bit of contentment if you walk in. If you're a neurotypical person, you may get contentment from a kiss. So it's really sort of I suppose that's the gap that I'm trying to explain to me. That's probably the hardest thing that on my journey I'm learning to deal with. I find it very, very hard, and it's led to, like I said, some negatives. It leads to being a very argumentative person. It means as a neurodivergent person, I'm very argumentative because the adrenaline that comes with an argument. Again, I've articulated this before. So, but that's probably the hardest struggle for me. If you're going to say to me, what's the hardest struggle? It's that, and that sort of brings me back round nicely, actually, to why I genuinely don't get worried or I don't get nervous about people listening, because for me, it's just another person raising awareness of things, that are going on. It's not. I don't call myself, like someone accused me the other day of being a TikTok. I think it must be a new thing. TikTok diagnosis. I was like, no, I've been diagnosed. Oh, that was in my last podcast I put out there, and I do read the comments. I don't really get involved in talking in the comments because I'm not here for that. Like I said, for me, this is the thing I've come back to, and I've really enjoyed. I've really enjoyed talking about mental health. I've really enjoyed talking about coping mechanisms. I really enjoy talking about all these sort of the nuances, things to look out for, signs and signals and triggers, maybe. So, but yeah, for me, the neurotypical side of things, it's trying to sort of show people that there is a difference and why that difference is there. Because again, I can't explain what's going on in my head because I don't know, and I don't know what being content feels like. I just know that when I do extreme things, I feel happy, and the happiness is the bit that I struggle with because I don't often feel happy. I often walk around going, is this fucking life? Because if this is life, I can't be arsed. And as you well know, if you're neurodivergent yourself, you'll know that you'll get burnout really easy because you're constantly in overdrive. You're constantly thinking about new things, how to do this, and you're analyzing stuff. You don't just walk around and analyze. Basically, I analyze all sorts of things, and I think for me, that's the hardest bit, is the burnout, is managing that burnout. What wouldn't be perceived as burnout for most people, because they're like, what do you mean you're burnt out? It's only fucking week 1 of 2026. And you're like, yeah, because I've come into work and I've hit the fucking ground running again. And I'm burnt out a little bit because I've been overthinking all these things and investigating, whatever it may be. So it's a difficult time. It really is a difficult place. And I think that's one of the hardest things about my journey. And like I say, this year, it's getting that across to people. Like, for me, I don't get embarrassed because I think that people need to be open and honest about life. We all have different challenges. We all have different thoughts. I'm going to move this around a little bit. We all have different thoughts. We all have different ideas about life. What makes us happy? We're all content for different things. So it's interesting, how people manage that. And I think that to manage it really is quite generic because, as you well know, if you can look after yourself, just yourself, if you can get up and have a shower and put on some nice new clothes and hit the day running, you're doing more than most people can with mental health issues can do. So do you see how, like, that one little tiny step that we take for granted, really, because we all expect everybody to wake up in the morning, on a norm. I'm not talking about shift work and all that bollocks. I'm not going to go. My head did, but I'm not going to go into the detail. But we're just going to talk about the average Joe, if you like, or translate it into your working pattern. That's the easiest way to say it. So for me, we expect everybody to be at work for 8 o'clock, 8 to 9, yeah, and work 4 till. Hold on. the manius influenza caught a little bit there, but you expect people to work 8, 9, 4 till 5, whatever it may be, in those parameters. Probably, if I was going to be pragmatic about today's society, 7 till 6. If you work in those hours, you're expected to get up. You're expected to shower, change, go into work, be professional, come home. Yeah, happy days, happy days. That is one of the hardest things to do when you have mental health problems. The hardest things to do. Already on this week alone, so last week, so I'm on Sunday, but last week was my first week back in work after the Christmas grant, the start of 2026. And already I encountered 2 conversations with 2 friends that showed me 2 different issues that they'd had. One person had been there for absolutely years and had anxiety about coming in, had burnout, didn't really had enough of seeing people over Christmas period, didn't give himself enough grace and enough a period of time to relax and chill, came in with anxiety, didn't want to come into work. So already somebody like literally their day 2, well, they've had enough. And there's another person I was talking about, and we were talking about mental health, actually, a really good friend of mine. And I was talking to her because we were talking about her husband. We've had lots of good chats, actually, to be fair. And I think it's really important. I like to get good perspective. And the reason we initially engaged, actually, and started talking, because I've been in my new job for a couple of years, but it was about a year ago when I first met this person, and we were talking about something or other, and she'd overheard a bit of a conversation. And oh no, was it a bit of a conversation? No, we were having a meeting. And at the end of the meeting, she said, oh, can we catch up? And we were catching up. And then that catch up turned into 2 hours about talking about her husband and how he'd suffered from depression and suicidal thoughts and suicidal tendencies and all this sort of stuff. And it led into a whole, like, literally her opening up to me and saying that of all these issues and struggles that she'd had with her husband. And I was like, it's men in general. So in terms of not talking, not being open and honest. And that's what had happened. We were talking, she was like, why don't men do this? And she was asking me, I think that's how the conversation started. She goes, you're a man. Can you tell me, why don't you talk out openly about your feelings and, and acknowledge your depression? And I was like, I don't really know, to be fair. I think because, well, I do know straight away, because of the stigma that's attached. I said, it's the way we're all raised. Blokes, I don't care what anyone says in society. I'm all for equal rights, equal opportunities. I'm all for everything. I'm all for that. I'm all for progression. I think we need to move away from all of that stuff. So for me, inclusivity is a big part of my life. I said, but unfortunately, there is still a stigma around men. There is still a stigma that men do not open up. They bury their heads. They get on with it. And I'd say that there'll be people that will probably defend that by me saying that, but the statistics speak for themselves. So at the end of the day, the suicide rate for men is still increasing. So for me, I don't care what you say. Yes, we are talking about it more, but at the end of the day, you don't get rid of the society's expectations of what men need to do. And at the end of the day, irrelevant of equal opportunities and equal rights and all that sort of stuff, the very foundation of the world that we all live is built by men. So that expectation is still there. So I'm not saying it to be sexist or anything like that. I'm saying genuinely, the workforce in building houses and laying railways and motorways and all of the hard labor, is done by men. That hard labor comes with a cost, because there's still an expectation to provide, there's still an expectation to go home, but a lot of people don't get the grace that they deserve for knowing that they're doing a hard job. They're doing a stressful job. Yes, there is jobs now that women are, if not better, it's on par or if not better than men are. Absolutely. I think that women in the leadership side of things are absolutely excelling, because at the end of the day, women come to the party with a lot more than men. They come to the party with passion, not passion, sorry, because men do come with passion. They come to the party with empathy, and they come to the party with natural leadership skills, because they're women. They're used to, and I'm not saying this in a sexist term, please don't take this in a sexist term, but they are naturally born and, to raise children. So we're all children being raised. At the end of the day, sorry, I caught something there. We're all children in some respects. When we go to a new environment, we're learning the environment. Women already have the empathy and the aptitude to tolerate a lot more than most men. Yes, I think there's a certain position where men can excel. Like, say, the military is a prime example where men excel in the military, because For instance, I know that, and again, I've got to be careful. It's like a minefield, this. But you stick a man on the front line and you ask him to go and kill, for instance, and I think it's prevalent. In fact, we're on the cusp of World War III. You ask a man to go and kill, he will go and kill. He won't ask questions. He's trained. As long as he's trained adequately, he'll go and do it. Whereas I think it's very rare that you'll get a woman that would actually do that in heat of battle. So, and I genuinely mean that. And I'm not saying it to be sexist. I genuinely believe that I think that women don't have testosterone. They don't have the bit that is naturally produced in abundance. They don't have, men without ADHD, men, for instance, with ADHD going into battle is literally the biggest fucking drug. It's like when I was in Afghanistan, and I can say this, when I was getting fucking rounds down, is the easiest way to say it, and I was being fired at, and it was a fucking mass ball of arguments and fucking craziness and chaos. It was chaos. But it was silent chaos. You were just sat there. It was methodical chaos. It was strategic chaos. It was mapped out chaos. Now you can physically see as you walk around the men that have got ADHD, because it slows down time, but you can see the adrenaline, the smile. And I remember thinking there was an aspect of my brain going, fucking hell, you should not be here, mate. And that's my father's side, my fatherhood side, because I did have, at the time I was married and I'd had 2 children. So, I was naturally thinking in the back of my head, I shouldn't be doing this because I was in my 30s. I was in a war zone, and I thought to myself, I shouldn't be fucking here. The father side of me took over and thought, what happens if something does happen? And I suppose that bit is maturity. This is a bit I will embed in a little bit about the maturity side of things. And as you mature and as you get more responsibilities, you naturally slow down a little bit. So, but you could see the young lads that had ADHD. It was the time of their life. Most people would be shitting themselves. You literally fucking when you're sat through the fucking window going, get some fucking hot brass rounds fucking flying everywhere, fucking RPGs whoosh, going off through fucking little tiny holes in the fucking wall. You've got a Chinook helicopter fucking coming in like an absolute fucking battle machine, fucking swimming in like the MERT, medical emergency response team, fucking flying in like literally tactical landing, flares, fucking all this chaos. I'm trying to give you a picture here. So you're literally sat there and you're going, boom, boom, boom. That's the fucking that's the fucking rocket launchers, and that's the fucking RPGs. You got all this going on, going off like a fucking absolute battle machine. You come flying in, and you're sat there like literally. I mean, you'd shit yourself, but for you could see it. It was organized chaos. It was organized chaos. And then you had the fucking Merc comes in, out come the fucking nurses, the battle nurses, the bit that they're exceptional at because it's caring, looking after, rah, 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 great place. It's all, the military is all about being methodical, strategic, chaos, but managed chaos. And you can see people with smiles on their face getting fucking shot at. And then you on the side of that where you got this fucking thingy, you've got the Apache going around with fucking like hellfires, fucking all this and hellfires going off and all this, and you're sat there going. An element of me is thinking I should be here, but the other element of me is thinking I have never been so fucking high on fucking adrenaline in my life, And you're like sat there going, and I remember when we all closed down for the evening. This went on for like 3 or 4 hours, so it's exhausting. But you're riding a fucking high. It's like somebody's got an intravenous drip of fucking adrenaline just on you, and you're walking around with this fucking bag intravenous dripped into you, and you're literally going fucking magazine. You don't give a shit where the rounds are going. You don't give a shit about this. Fucking grenade! Getting fucking sprays of fucking mud everywhere. It's exciting times, but it's fucking dangerous, and it's not till you come to afterwards and you sat there and you're going, fuck me, That was dangerous. Do you know what I mean, though? But you probably don't. You probably don't. But that's the difference. Is like that to me is exciting. Like I'm more excited about now, and I'm just talking about the scenario that I was in fucking 15 odd years ago, and I'm still living it. I've still got it embedded into me. It's still ingrained. The whole excitement, the smell of the fucking sulfur, the smell of the dirt as it's fucking, you know what I mean? It's a crazy, the flares, and you get the smoke from the flares. I can smell it now. The after as the helicopter's coming in, and it's like max chat when it goes off, and it's like, you hear this I'm spraying fucking spit everywhere. I'm so excited, but it's a good time. It's a fucking great time. ADHD, get yourself in that fucking environment because it's a good time, and it is. But it's dangerous, and it's not till afterwards, and you sit there and you go, "Fuck, that was fucking chaos. I can't wait to do that tomorrow. Fuck me, fucking hell, 7 o'clock in the morning. Let's go, cock-a-doodle-doo." But it does, but it takes its toll, and then it's not until, and this is ultimately normally when you would. So this is the weird thing. So I say that with excitement, but then to type that into a mental health thing. That is, you get excited and you live that excitement for 7 months. It's not until you come back to normal life, normal inverted commas, and you see in your office and all this, and people get post-traumatic stress disorder. And the reason they get PTSD is because in this example is because they've lived on an adrenaline fucking high, doing crazy shit, not really thinking about it, almost living in fight mode. You've got fight or flight. You can't flight because you're like sat there. Trust me, I've met people that have chosen the flight and gone, do you know what I mean? I'm going to snap a fucking ankle, mate. You're going to snap my fucking wrist. I'm going home. I don't want to do this. And they're the ones that you think to yourself, well, that's a neurotypical person in the wrong environment there. He's been fucking sent out here. He's done his training at home thinking this is it. And he's come here and gone, fuck you. I'm not having any of this pie, mate. Put your pie away. I'm going home. And I've seen people do that. I've seen people literally fucking crumble. It takes a certain person to be in that environment. And that's why I said, it's all about the adrenaline side. But that's often when you would come along and you would do all that. So you're doing all that for like 7 months, American military up to a year. And you're doing 7 months as well as 4 weeks training and 2 weeks decompression after that. And you literally then come back to reality. So you're used to just seeing desert everywhere or whatever environment you're in. You're used to probably living in a slum compared to most people. So you almost go into that. That sort of kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like raw state. It's almost like survival instinct because you don't get the comforts at home. You're sat on a camp cot. You've got a fucking sleeping bag and normally a bag as a pillow. You're shitting in a fucking dirty old fucking hole that you've made out of Hessian sacks and fucking a bit of netting, and you've dug a hole, so it's almost like your shower is almost like one of these. I'm going to do it like this. It's almost like the size of a 500ml bottle upside down, and that's your full shower for a day. So you do go back to you sort of kind of take a lot of you sort of take a lot of life for granted, and you see the people that suffer. The people that suffer are the ones that either weren't fully prepared for it. I never came back with anything issues wise for that, but there was people that were, and I think it's that I always think it's almost like God, that man food's killing me. Excuse me. It's almost like that they're the ones that thought about the adrenaline but didn't have the mental capacity to deal with it afterwards and actually analyze it. And it's often when you come home and you're sat in the fucking, like, your living room, sat there, and you're looking around and going, well, this is just pampered. I feel pampered. People don't like it because they've been used to living rough, and they've been used to male camaraderie, and they've been used to, literally knowing that the next person beside you is there to save your life and you're there to save his, and vice versa. And that just goes along. It's hard to explain battle, really, but and I haven't lived it to half the extent of some soldiers. You've got to remember, I was RAF, so I didn't really get much chance. But this was a volunteer. I volunteered to work with the army to get the full experience because, for me, that was the adrenaline. I stupidly volunteered for it. But there's people that, that don't know how to manage that. And they come home and it's almost like everything just feels wrong. and then all of a sudden you'll be sat in the quietness, and you'll be in your head, and you're thinking about it in your head, and you take yourself back to there, and someone will just go, drop a pan like clang, and you think it's a fucking grenade because you've been sat in your inner thoughts. And this is often where I got, when I came back, that's what I felt I was doing a lot of, was I was sat in my own shell, in my own head. Because when you go to military environments, I don't know whether that's still, I can hear this. Bear with me a second. That's it, better. Sorry about that. I was just raising my voice again, and I was like, "What's going on here?" But you do when you go to a war zone. That's, you spend a lot of time in your own head, and men don't like being in their own head. I mean, so you end up thinking about things. You end up trying to plan things. You end up trying to go, when I get back, I'm going to do this, and you end up trying to almost disassociate that part of life. And I found myself very much disassociating normal life, and this was my normal life. So although it wasn't normal, I was walking along in the fucking desert, in the same gear every single day, doing the same things at the same time for 7 months. Nothing really fucking changed. Well, it did. Every day was a different day, and you got shot at quite a lot. But I mean, in terms of the environment, nothing really changed. So you just sort of lived. So you could almost disassociate. You could almost live in that time zone where you go, well, this is me for now. When you come back, that's the reality bit. That's why people will develop PTSD, because they come back and they can't hack the reality, and often they're in their own place in a military environment where it's quite scary. You hear loud bangs randomly, you fucking scare the shit out of yourself. It's very much like, I developed, my PTSD was developed from car crashes, but because it's very similar. A car crash is very similar to almost being in a war zone. And now, again, that's probably going to sound controversial to most people, but it is. Think about it. If you like, I've had head-on collisions. I have 3, as you know. This is the journey that I'm on. In all 3 of those scenarios, I had 8 fucking airbags going off. So all the skirt ones, all the side pillar ones, the steering wheel ones, and there was 4 on each side, and all 4 on each side went off. Now, tell me that is not like a fucking environment that is scary. When you're going along and you don't expect the car crash, the reason you crash is because something's happened that you weren't going to plan, i.e. a bomb, grenade being shot at. That's not planned, is it? And then all of a sudden you get this fucking massive, extremely loud bang, which is the first bit. That's the airbags going off, and it's something you're not. And you'll get smacked in the face. And you're fucking there, dazed, and you're boom, and all you can hear is ringing in your ears. Again, that's the rounds in your fucking gun, the fucking brass firing away, the grenades, all that. That's all there to give you, that sensory overload, which is the same as the airbags going off in the car. Then you get the smell of sulfur. You get that smell of, it's really distinct. I can almost smell it now. It's very distinct. You don't really forget it. It's that smell of sulfur of an airbag going off, and in a controlled environment with a preservative dust on it, so it doesn't deteriorate, and it blows off in your face, and it hasn't gone off for fucking basically 10 years or however long it's been gone off. If you've got a new car, you may be lucky, but both my cars, one was 12-year-old and the other 2 were 10-year-olds. So for 10 years, still had the original airbags in, because they'd never been in an accident. So they were the same ones from manufacturer. So you can imagine that smell of dust, fucking grime, battering you in the face. So that's how I developed PTSD, because it was at a certain point that I would trigger, and at a certain point I was going along and I would smell the sulfur. The mind is fucking wild on how it can make you smell things that aren't there. Like, it's fucking crazy. Like, I genuinely was going along the same part of the journey, and I would almost get, like, every single time, this happened for about 2 years, which is why I couldn't drive in the end, because every time I went past the 3, because the 3 accident spots were on the same road that I had to drive to get to the same job. I had to do it every single day. But for 2 years, every single day, 5 days a week, I had to smell. So I would go past these certain points and I would go, and it'd be a faint whiff. And you'd be like, fuck's that? And you'd get ringing in your ears constantly. And you'd be like sat there going, what the fuck's that? And everything would feel muffled. It's almost like your brain is telling you to be fucking careful around these areas. But how that does it, I do not fucking know. But it genuinely does. And like I said, I had EMDR therapy to try and replicate the thing, and it did. It replicated. The brain is so powerful, and it was a protection factor. But at the same time, it wasn't allowing me to move forward because it was a constant reminder. Now, although my brain was telling me to remind me to be cautious around those areas and it was looking after me, it was a protection thing. Inadvertently, what it was doing was not allowing me to move past it because I had a constant reminder. And it took having to stop driving, physically stop driving those journeys from every day, 5 days a week to 2 days a week because I could not physically do it. So it's very, like, the brain is a very complex thing, but that's obviously, like I say, war times, war situations. Depends on how you deal with it. Now, I had to deal with it. I had to get back on the horse, so to speak. It's like fall off the horse, get back on the horse, and I did. But on the third accident, and after 2 years, was when that's when all this journey started for me, because that was when I was like, there's something wrong. I am fucking stressed. I cannot drive. I'm fucking, all of the symptoms just wouldn't go away. It was a constant reminder. And then, like I say, it developed into other things and highlighting other issues that hadn't gone away. And I just masked up and buried up for years. But anyway, I digress a little bit, but I'm going to break into what I'm going to talk about today, because I've got some good stuff to talk about. And I wrote these things down. And it sort of feeds in a little bit about everything else, and it's the reason I'm talking about it is because it's more of a struggle at the moment, if I'm being honest. Now, I struggle with hobbies. I struggle with getting things that are going to keep me content. But one of the things I've really, really noticed as I've got older, and I'm 45 this year, for me, that's a fucking significant milestone. I couldn't believe it. And I think really, it's kind of hit me a little bit this year. I think 42 is when I really started feeling the blues that associate with being older. But this year it hit me in every factor. Like I said, I had to change my hair drastically, and all these sort of things. I'm making those midlife changes to try and sort of kind of alleviate feeling old again. But one of the things I've really struggled with, and the reason I bring it up is because I struggle with this anyway. Being neurodivergent, I struggle with finding something again. This feeds into the dopamine thing. I struggle to find things that keep me excited. Like, people all mention things to me, like someone mentioned me the other day about, oh, should we go and do a crystal maze thing? And I just thought to myself, what does that involve? Crystal maze, going around into rooms, you have to fix rooms. And I thought to myself, that's quite good. I like that. And then another person mentioned to me, should we go to a band night? And I was like, I couldn't think of anything fucking worse. Sitting there with loud noises and everybody fucking loud dins. Couldn't think of anything fucking worse. So it's weird to find things that is enjoyable, that gives you that adrenaline. Now, one of the things that has been remarkably noticeable, and you will probably be able to either associate with this if you're neurodivergent, or maybe if you're neurotypical, have seen somebody with the same type of issues or types of not issues, it's not really an issue, types of mythology, process, mentality, why they do things. And one of those things is hobbies. And I'm really, really struggling, because a lot of the things that I did when I was younger that gave me the adrenaline that I needed, and the adrenaline that keeps me excited, which was things like wakeboarding, was things like surfing, was things like motocross, motorbikes, all of those real high speed adrenaline things that I've done all the way through my 20s and 30s that have kept me excited. And even gaming is probably my biggest excitement through all of my life. I was, like I said, an absolute fucking geek at gaming, which is really weird, because I try to portray myself as a bit of a fucking manly man, you often see like the beard, the tattoos. You say, oh, you fucking know, and then it's me. I'm here to talk about Skyrim, or I'm here to talk about some geeky shit, or Battlefield or whatever. But one of the things, to the point where, like I said, a gaming was such an addictive part of my life, and such an adrenaline part of my life, an aspect of my life, especially through my 20s. I actually got number 3 in the world. I think I may have told you this. I actually got number 3 in the world, playing Battlefield 2 on the PC. So I was considered quite good, if you like, in the game, and I was quite well known. Worldwide known as well, because you would often speak to a lot of people in a lot of different countries. So it's gaming is always been a really, really huge dopamine reward. It's always been. I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit dry throaty now. I've noticed this now. Grr. That's me gargling, by the way. Hey, fucking hell, sorry. Intrusive thought came in there. Sorry. But yeah, so for me, gaming has always been that like real. It's always been that fun time. It's always been attached with meeting new people, talking to new people, talking to people at different times. I was really good friends with a lot of Americans, and gaming with them at their time. So I would often play all of the UK evening times. And then when everyone would normally go to bed, which is like 12, 1 o'clock, well, if you go to American times, 1 o'clock, and they're 5 hours behind us, would be their gaming time. They're 8 o'clock. They're 7, 8 o'clock-ish. So I would play till 6 in the morning. So I would have a full 12 hours on a weekend, especially. Like I used to start gaming on a Friday. This is the addiction and the adrenaline that came with Battlefield and why I got to so high. I would start gaming. I had an average game time of my whole entire 4 years playing the game of 8.5 hours a day was my average game time. 8.5 hours a day. And I was in the Royal Air Force and I had children and a wife. So you can imagine how addictive that got for me. It's as simple as that. So work maths out. I don't know, but it's a lot. But to give you an idea, I used to game on a Friday. I'd finish at midday. I'd come home. I'd switch my PC on. I'd have a shower, switch my PC on at 1 o'clock. And then I would play through until 6 in the morning. Straight through. That's how addicted I got to it. So it's always been a real dopamine hit for me, gaming, because it's usually associated with competitiveness. There's uncertainty, especially playing online, which is where I played. So you nothing's predictable online. You don't know what's coming around the corner. You can't see anything. It's not a game. You're not predicting what the game is telling you. It's very unpredictable, exciting, new, loud, brash, achievements, camaraderie, competitiveness, leadership, you name it, everything comes with gaming. Everything, which is why it's so fucking big now. But I've always had that. I've always had that fucking juice. I've always had been able to get into the juice, squeeze the juice, if you like. I've always been able to do it with gaming, but as I've got older, I think because my competitiveness is falling off naturally. And I mean that in not my mind. My mind is competitive as fuck. It always has been. But now I'm going through the stages as I get older of struggling with being able to keep up. So my reactions aren't as quick as the younger lads or the younger people playing the games. So you end up losing a lot, and then you end up becoming cannon fodder. That then becomes a competitive person's nightmare because you can't compete at their level. And there's nothing you can do because there's your ears and eyes are naturally failing. Your reaction time, your brain scan, your brain is naturally slowing. And I'm not used to that because I'm used to fucking firing on all cylinders all the time. I never shut up. I never stop moving. So for me, it's kind of really weird. So I'm really struggling at 44 and 40/45, coming to 45th year. I'm really struggling with what excites me anymore. Because I can't compete at the same level on the computer that makes it exciting. I then become cannon fodder, so to speak. So you die a lot, and then you think to yourself, well, what's the fucking point now? I'm just going to go on and die. And other games, you're like, well, I don't want to play the standard single players or the standard game because it's a predictable way of playing. It doesn't give me the same excitement. I mean, the only reason I locked into to Xbox was because if I played single players, it gave me achievements. So it gave me things to do, challenges in the game to get an achievement. And the achievement can, ding, and it was exciting. So you got an endorphin. So, but now I don't like playing the single players because of the predictability of it. I prefer online. I prefer the chaos of online, but I can't compete. So one of the things I'm really challenging with myself one of the things I'm really struggling with at 44, 45 is what do I do? What do I do that still excites me? Because I don't want to play golf. Fuck off. I can't play golf for shit. I'm not going to go into those other sports. I'm not interested in those sports. I'm interested in something that still keeps me excited. I can't wakeboard because I still think when I jump on a wakeboard, I still think I can do the things I did when I was fucking 25 and forget that I'm 20 years older. even up to 32. I think 32. I think it was 33. But even then, I was still trying to do stuff. But the recovery rate is mental. And I'm not as flexible. I'm not as dynamic. I'm not as, my brain wants to do it because it's like, fucking do this. My body, it's like your brain goes, fucking do a backflip, James, because that's what I would do. The first thing I try and do is backflip. And then I did this about 6 years ago, and nearly fucking killed myself because I didn't do any rotations and fucking slapped on the floor. And my balls, they wrapped under my gooch, slid past my gooch, in my arsehole, fucking through my body, and then fucking out my mouth. And there it was. So I had a couple of nuts just fucking dangling here. And that was from a backflip. I was like, well, swallowed them, popped them out, and then I was like, wow, fucking hell. What do we do here? So that's one of the things I'm struggling with. And I suppose, I don't know, maybe reaching out to the community here in terms of what do you do? I mean, I don't know enough people who have ADHD and at the same age to really understand what their struggles are and how they manage it. And also, then I think to myself, but we're all different people. So maybe someone with ADHD gets adrenaline from, I don't know, playing fucking cards. I don't know because I don't know what they. So again, it's a lot of I don't knows and a lot of uncertainty. But that's one of my biggest struggles, I think, and I don't really know how to attack it. Something I'm going to try and tackle this year is to try and find something that gives me the buzz on a regular occasion that I can have as a go-to. It's okay doing things in the summer, but it's more the winter time. I really struggle from November till February. Those 4 months feel like a year on their own. And because I'm locked in, it's pissing down with rain out there. I can't go out and enjoy myself. All of these things are natural, what you would consider seasonal affect disorder. And I know we label everything nowadays, but there is a reason for labeling because people will feel that every now and then. Whereas you couple seasonal affect disorder with ADHD not being able to get his adrenaline and dopamine, and an autistic person doesn't find exciting, it doesn't know how to do things methodically and process it and all that sort of stuff. A neurodivergent nightmare. It's an absolute fucking nightmare. It really is. And I think that's one of my biggest struggles. I think at the moment is trying to understand what I do that I can still do with my body. It doesn't matter how much weight I lose. It doesn't matter how much flexibility. Well, it does. The flexibility and all that sort of stuff will come with due course, but the man flu is taking over me at the moment. I can feel it. I can feel it in my bones. But yeah, so I don't know. That's a bit of a challenge this year, and I think that's what I'm going to try and tackle this year. There's lots of things that I've been doing this year that I'm looking forward to. Like I said, a couple of holidays I've got booked, especially looking forward to the one in April, which is a good family one. With my brothers and my dad, we're off to Wales, so that's a real exciting time, something to look forward to. But it's the week in, week out excitement. I don't know what to do. It's to the point wwhere you end up fucking collecting things. I'm collecting things at the moment. I've got fucking so many collectibles. I have to show you on the next one. I'll have to get a little shambell here of a little show and tell of what I've been doing, just to give you a little insight into it. But yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. So I don't know, maybe a bit of food for thought for you. Maybe someone to leave in the comments and let me know the type of things that. Like I said, I've tried golf, didn't enjoy it. I've tried darts, didn't enjoy it. I like pool to a degree, but again, not good enough and not close enough to be able to go and get enough practicing really to get competitive. And it's also, where do you go competitive? You go competitive down the pubs. I don't know. There's lots. Even then, just the food for thought with that side of things. Maybe that's the way to go. But I don't know. I want something extreme. That's my problem. I want something fun. I want something like motorbikes, fucking cars, banger racing, mini racing. I don't know, but something that I can get myself sort of stuck into. I don't know. But lots to think about this year, really. Lots to think about, lots to sort of divulge into. I hope that I'm going to wrap it up there. I'm going to keep it short and sweet today, actually, because I thought to myself, I just looked down, I got a bit of artwork to do. So I got a bit of artwork to finish, and I will readily share it with you on my next podcast. You can see it. In fact, actually, I will do that. On my next podcast, I'll show you my latest artwork piece. In fact, have I got enough time? No, I haven't got enough time. I was trying to think if I was going to go and grab it for you, and I'm just going to see what time I got that thing. So, no, I'm going to go and grab it. Bear with me. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. I'm going to go and grab it. Hold on. I have a blank screen for a sec. 2 secs. He's back in. Hold on. Woo! Hold on. Right. Let's get in a position. I'm gonna get my leg around here. Right, we're in. We're back. Right. I need to just, by the way, slipped up right there. Here we go. I'm going to show you this little bad boy. This is what I've been making. See if you can see that badger. Can you see it there? Has he got it? So I've made it out of resin. I don't know, it's not going to thing in, but that's an Arsenal badge. And there's a thing. I'll tell you the story, but I just wanted to show you it really, just so I can talk about it. Woo! He slipped over. Which just knackered me out there. Hello, everybody. Bit of artwork there. And I'm ready to share that. So what have I done there? Nice little piece there. I just wanted to share it. That's what I've been doing. Bit of artwork to keep me in. That was wow, I'm so unfit. I thought it's because I was out there and I nearly fucking shit me. You know, the adrenaline. I was like, whoa, fucking hell, calm down, mate. Also, you can tell the cold has taken over because I am out of breath on that, and I'm not that unfit. I like to think I'm not anyway. I might well be. But yeah, that's a bit of artwork. What did I get us to do? I got a theme about 2 weeks ago for a friend of mine who turned around and said, I want to make this for my partner. Can you make it? I want you to make it. I was like, yeah, you just pay for materials. I'll do the work myself because I don't charge the work because it's not a business. I do it because it keeps me busy, and I enjoy doing it. And at the same time, to make something for somebody that is not going to cost, I really enjoy that because it's giving back to the community. So I basically just charge the material costs. They gave me a theme: Arsenal and Royal Artillery. So that's how I pulled that together. Found out on the whole journey, the Royal Artillery red is the same as the Arsenal red, and there's a bit of blue in the badge, so that was easy because there's blue in the artillery badge. And I was able to transfer those over with the golds, a bit of glitter. And then what I did find was I went onto a cheeky forum and found a World War II hoof from a genuine horse that carried artillery in World War II. The horseshoe was taken off and somebody soldered a Royal Artillery badge from their cap into this horseshoe, and they kept that as a lucky horseshoe. And it had been passed down this generation. And this person said to me, you can have it for your art piece, because it was a friend of mine, and they said, basically, I want you to make something nice out of it. So that's what I did. So there's like a nice bit of heritage, nice bit of story in there, and it's enjoyable. It's something to talk about. It's something I like to build a story behind things. I think it's really important, but I'm going to share that in a bit, because that's it. I've just got a little bit of work to do in here, and then wrap that up. That's going to go next week to a friend of mine for her partner's birthday, and it's a surprise gift. And what better thing than have something unique made for your partner by me as well? So I feel humbled, and I feel proud that I'm able to do that. So really, really important stuff. So I suppose for me, hopefully you're okay. Hopefully you're smashing your way through it. Like I say, January does feel a little bit of a long one most of the time. It is a bit of a hard one. But it's really important to keep the foundations of yourself. Like I said at the start of this podcast, just getting out of bed when you're depressed or you're sad it can be challenging. So it's really important that you recognize the positives in the small things that you do. So just remember, but if you've got up and and the reason I say that is because January inherently is quite a sad month, isn't it? It's normally the big credit card bills come in from November, December, so we've got that. It's normally a long month. We're in our third month now with dismal, dark weather and fucking rain. So a lot of us are literally crying for some sort of sun. So there's lots of things going on. January is, we're all tired. We're all overeating over Christmas. So we all feel lethargic. And then it kind of breaks into, we're trying to sort of get ourselves sorted out. So it's a tough month, January, isn't it? Lots of things, and all caused by ourselves. Well, not all of it, but we all, if you've overeaten or you've overdrank or you've over socialized, it's because you've not managed your batteries at the right batteries. I say this, I keep saying this to my daughter because it's batteries, not batteries. It's like water. I got lazy. I'm getting lazy as I get older. I'm getting lazy. So it's but it's important, and the reason start off afresh this year, 2026. want to feel some power this year. I want to feel some invigoration. I want to start making some challenges. I want to keep developing myself. One of the things that I've taken away massively from 2025 was how much I've improved and how I actually enjoyed Christmas for the first time this year in a long time. It wasn't the best of Christmases in terms of the weather, and I didn't really do a lot because work burnt me out, but a little bit. But I think in terms of my personal life, I felt the happiest I felt in a long time, because I've made good friends. I've built on relationships. I've built on friendships. I've locked in lots of really good times that have automatically flowed over to this year, 2026, as a reoccurring theme. So it's like I know that I've got stuff locked in. I'm really trying to manage that work-life balance to make sure that I do exciting stuff to keep me going. I don't know what that exciting bit is yet, so but I suppose that's a challenge for myself. I look at that as a positive because I get to go and explore different hobbies and different unique things, if you like. I mean, I've even thought about doing CrossFit, and I don't know how, but that's tying in fitness, healthiness with, and I'm on this massive health journey that I'm going to talk to you about in my next podcast. All these things are just really starting my year off in a positive way from the end of a good year. Tough at work, admittedly, but everything else was nice. And the reason I got through the year positively was because all those good things were in place. And that's the importance. Whether you're just starting your journey now, your mental health journey, maybe you watch this podcast and you've gone, fuck, I need to grip my mental health. There's a lot of word. I should have been taking a breath in there. Maybe you gripped it. Maybe you've gone, I need to grip it. Yes, I'm going to fucking listen to James. And if you are, brilliant. Fucking, go to the start of my podcast and listen to all the stuff I've done and keep listening. Absolutely. Because there's nothing here that I will always recommend positives. Like I say, one of the biggest things I've taken on at the moment is my diet, massively taken on my diet, and the positive that's instilled in my mental health and my well-being and the way I'm waking up in the mornings has been invaluable. And I've done nothing different apart from measuring my macros. So I want to talk to you about that on the next podcast. This is me trying to tell myself to stop talking, because I would have enjoyably gone into that then. But I really want to try. I'm going to continue my path of growth this year, and also finding myself. And that sounds cliche, doesn't it? Oh, you're going to go out and find yourself, but you do, because a lot of us forget ourselves. A lot of us do. Relationships, friendships have crumbled. Relationships crumbled. Jobs have crumbled. We may have kids. You may have kids and completely forgotten who you are, who the very foundations of you are. And I think that for me, that's kind of, the reason I say that that's quite a prevalent thing at the moment is because I watched this person who, they said, divorce glow up, I think it was, on one of these social media sites. And basically this woman, she was quite a big lady. And, you could see she'd let herself, I say horrible because it's not let yourself go, because you haven't let yourself go. But what you've done is you've given up on yourself. That's the easiest way to say it, actually. You've given up on yourself. And you can see that. This person said divorce. And everybody was commenting like, why didn't you fucking do this before the divorce happened? But sometimes it does take a reset, and from her husband got to the point, maybe they'd exhausted everything between each other. Maybe they weren't listening. Maybe she didn't want to do it for him. Maybe she didn't want to do it for him, but didn't know how to tell him, or didn't know what it was she wanted. Got forced her hand. And often as human beings, when we get our hands forced, then you either make it or break it, don't you? If you see these people, they'll either break down and completely fucking give up on life, or they'll take it as a challenge, as a fresh start. And they're the ones that are normally a little bit more mentally strong. If you're not mentally strong and you go down the point where it puts you into a rabbit hole, this is the whole purpose of this mental health, is making sure you've got the right people around you to pick you back up, support you, look after you. And this is all encompassed in all of this. Talking about this is making sure that we've got the right pillars for success, because it's invaluable to have the right pillars of success, isn't it? It's, the whole purpose of life is to go through it as happy as you can. Yeah, you are a unique entity. You are a one in a quadrillion billion chance of fucking being here. You are special. You don't care what you say about yourself, how you feel, what you may think about yourself. The reality is you are special, because you're here. You've got a chance to live on this environment, in this world, and take the fucking bull by the horns and go and enjoy it as much as you can. Again, I'm not gonna argue with. I know we can caveat that with you need money to do these certain things, exactly. But all these things, they're all steps. It's all finding things that you can afford to do to make you happy. It's having the right people around you. So, at the end of the day, love is priceless. And if you've got the right people that love you, but then you're wealthy. You're wealthier than most people. If you've got children, you're wealthier than most people. If you've got 3 square meals a day, you're wealthier than most people. So it's perspective. It really is perspective. So it's really important that when you look inwardly for yourself this year and go, what do I need to do? What steps am I going to make? What am I going to change? What do I need to develop? Because we can all develop. Nobody's perfect. Nobody. I don't care what you say. And I say this every time, and I will keep saying, I don't care what you say. You are not perfect. Nobody is fucking perfect. Yeah, nobody is. So what we do is we keep working ourselves on to drive to what perfection is for you. Now, that may be a simple step. That may be, like I said, that may be my perfection at the moment is getting up. I just want to be happy to get up. I'd be happy to get up. Maybe you're feeling sad, maybe you're feeling low. And maybe that's the next step. But if you make that step, brilliant. Reward yourself, because that's a baby step. You've taken that. Look to the next step then. I'm going to make sure I go out. I'm going to go for a 5-minute walk. I'm going to get out amongst nature. Take the steps as you go along. That's growth. And that's the basics of growth if you're feeling depressed, sad, or whatever you're feeling at the moment. If you're in that situation, maybe you're happy, maybe you're like me, a little bit content at the moment. Whatever content is, I don't know what content is, but I can happily say when I look around that, I certainly feel an element of satisfaction with what I have. So I'm trying to embrace that, and I'm trying to hold on to that. Maybe that's what contentment is. I don't know. This is a growth pattern for me. So I think it's really important that you grow, you evolve, you nurture yourself, instill coping mechanisms, but more importantly, learn about yourself. Because, like I said, you're not perfect. So there may be an element you need to work on. Maybe there's something maybe your work-life balance is off and you want to get that back on track again. Maybe it's off kilter. Maybe you're feeling a little bit overweight. You want to do a bit of exercise, lose a bit of weight, feel confident about yourself. Maybe you've not socialized in ages. Go out, make the effort. Everything is all on you. It's all on what you want to do to make that step, to make that change. Maybe you don't like your job. I've said this before. If you don't like your job, what the fuck are you doing about it? If you don't like your weight, what the fuck are you doing about it? If you don't like your relationship, what the fuck are you doing about it? What are you doing about it? Because it's you inwardly. I'm only here right now talking about this and able to talk to you about this to get through my challenges, because I've gone, what the fuck am I going to do about it? And that's what I've done. The diagnosis for ADHD and autism. Okay, what does that mean? And I remember categorically, excuse me. I remember categorically my mum saying, well, what does that mean? Because I told her, because I was late diagnosed. And I said, well, it means nothing to you. I was like, it means absolutely nothing. Yeah, what it does do is hopefully it gives you an idea on how to approach me. It gives you a little bit, if you do a bit of research into it, it will explain maybe some of my uniquisms, if you like. That's a fucking word, but how I deal with certain scenarios and situations. It will help you understand me more. You don't have to do that by no means at all. Carry on going through life blind. It doesn't really bother me, because what I've done is I've taken control of that, and I'm going to make myself a more rounded individual. I'm going to learn about those scenarios. I'm going to make sure that I don't get in situations that trigger my anger. It doesn't always happen, and I'll be honest, fucking on a good day, a good month, 7 out of 10, I've been successful. But there'll always be an element that slips through, because it's an uncontrollable emotion. But I accept that, and the people around me accept that. And what people around me do is they analyze it and go, let's not fucking argue right now. Let's talk about this later when we're being calm situation. I don't mean the things that happen, but they happen. But that's the educational piece. That's the bit that I need to learn. So what I need to do is take away that development piece, is stopping those scenarios. Don't run my fucking mouth and get angry. Walk away from the situation. Calm the fuck down and come back. If you don't feel calm when you come back, walk the fuck away again until you come back calm. It's learning. There's ways to handle it. It's like when people say to me, "Oh, I'm so fucking disorganized," and all this. Okay, what are you doing about it? I talk about this on my neurodivergent network all the time, and people give me these scenarios, and I go, okay. Like somebody said to me this morning, they said a friend of mine messaged me and said, "How are you?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I'm all right." So first day back at work, and it's been so fucking stressful, and I was like, "Okay, you're a factory worker." Now, no offense, I'm not playing you down, but put life into perspective. What are you stressed about? She said, "Well, the noise of the machines because I've had a week and a half off." Okay, that's not stress. You know, you can go into work like some people have, and there's been a fucking car crash, and there's been an astronomical fucking difference where somebody's had life-changing injuries, because that's what's happened this week in our village. Somebody was driving to work, skidded on black ice that we didn't know was there because everyone seemed to have forgotten about black ice, crashed into another car and had life-changing injuries. So these are all things that I say. So I say, you're stressed about, you think you've had the worst week in the world, which is how it was articulated in the message. I've had the worst week in the world, absolutely fucking stressed out. And I went, okay, put it in perspective. Somebody had to investigate this incident. Somebody had to get to the root cause. Somebody is at fault for this accident, whoever that may be. But ultimately, this other person has had life-changing injuries, which resulted in airlifted to hospital and, being cut out of a car for an hour. Let's put it in perspective. Your stress is really, really small compared to the stress of this person now. So it's all about perspective. And I think that's one of the things you should really try and really grasp as you talk about your neurodivergency or whatever issues you're incurring. Put things into perspective. Life into perspective will change what you deem as stressful and what you deem as issues. And I always say to people, what are you doing about it? Like, say, the disorganized bit. And I go, okay, so you're disorganized. What have you done about it? Oh, I didn't do anything, because there's software out there to manage you. There's applications out there for your phone to manage your disorganization. The organization that you're working for will help you and support you, but ultimately you need to learn, because you've got to adapt to your issues and how to manage them. I'm not saying they'll ever go away, and I'm not saying they're going to be resolved, but what I am going to say is they will certainly be better the more you do it. And I would say again, 3 months learned habit for a normal person. A lot of the coping mechanisms and things I put in place have all been there to help me to be a better rounded person. So it's absolutely imperative that you put your issues into perspective, because I guarantee there'll be someone in life that is probably worse off. So if you look at life in a siloed way, and you will always think that you are the most stressful person. It's always the person who shouts the loudest. You think, fucking hell, they've got the issue. If you go to A&E, it's the person who's screaming in the corner is going to get fucking seen. Probably only broke his fucking finger or something, or, broke a nail on his fucking hand, but he's screaming because he's in agony. But then there's a person sat next to him that's silent as fucking hell, just literally quietly getting through, not quite not understanding what's going on, but has cancer and got 3 months to live because they don't know what's happening internally. But if you put that in perspective, if I physically put them two side by side and said, right, you're screaming and you've gone through because we want to get rid of your fucking noise. What have you done? Oh, you stubbed your fucking toe and you've ripped your toenail off. All right. And then this person goes in and has been passing blood for fucking 6 months, or has got a lump somewhere, and find out they've got, malignant fucking cancer or something. But they were quiet, but they didn't get seen. But they didn't get seen for days, weeks, and months because they weren't fucking screaming. So I think it's really important that you put your issues and stuff into perspective. And that's one of the biggest things that helped me in life. Was I used to get angry about the smallest of things. And then the more I thought about the perspective and looking holistically at issues that were going on, I thought to myself, I'm coming home to 3 square meals a day. I've got hot water. I've got a fridge. I've got a TV. I've got a car. I can get to work. There's a fly just literally. I thought I caught the little bastard earlier, but he just went in front of the camera. Little bastard. But put it in perspective. Put it in perspective. Put your life into perspective. And if everybody put their life into perspective and what you thought your woes were, and have you tried everything to try and alleviate those woes? Say, for instance, you can't get a fucking job. Or have you tried to make yourself an asset to be a job? to be employable. Everything's got an answer to your question. So it's important that you put things in perspective and look out for life and actually go, do you know what? I might be stressed, but in actual fact, I'm still alive. I'm still healthy. I've got a fucking full fridge full of food. I've got the heating on, and I've got hot water, and I've got a comfy bed. Okay, you've got a lot more than most people. You've got a lot more than veterans that have given up, some of the veterans that have given up their fucking lives to go and fight for the country and living on the streets because they left with no skills, because they were cannon fodder, if you like, but then we didn't have a war. So everything is about perspective. I think it's really important, but I'll finish on the note is making sure that what are you doing about your issues? What are you doing to help yourself? Because that's the key part. If you can help yourself, all the good things, spread positivity. It's amazing when you spread positivity, how you attract positivity. And that's one of the biggest things I took away from last year, was when you're positive, you attract positivity. You attract the right people. People want to draw towards you because you're positive. But you can physically see the negative people. They're the ones that are sat lonely, or the ones that nobody wants to talk to, or the ones that are causing issues. We're all struggling through life. Everybody is. I say everybody loosely, working for the below classes from the rich. Do you know what I mean? But the normal working class, we've all got ailments, we've got issues, we've all got troubles. You know, you look at the fucking factory workers, you look at the road workers, you know, they've all got issues, they've got back problems. That fly's going to piss me off. He's on the screen. Go away, you little turd. Fuck off. I'll fucking knock him out. Nearly got the wrath of me there. But yeah, but put it in perspective. Oh, I got him. I fucking did as well. Dangerous, mate. Watch out. Fucking beetles are back. You see that? Like a fucking machine. He's literally, I literally destroyed him. Grabbed him, destroyed him. Don't fuck around, mate. Don't fuck around and find out. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you very much for listening to me. I've gone off on a tangent, but hopefully the next one, like I say, I'm looking forward to talking about a bit of healthy eating, actually. And the reason I'm going to talk about healthy eating is because the way I feel from eating healthy and eating good food, healthy food, and the invigoration I've had from finding excitement in other foods, and also how it's made me feel. Spring chicken. I feel like a spring chicken again. I feel good because I'm eating the healthy stuff. I'm eating stuff that's right for my body, and I think that's I'm gonna definitely talk about. Not gonna go into. I'm not a nutritionist by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a PTI by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not a fucking training instructor. I'm not a fitness instructor or anything like that. This is purely from a mental health perspective. This is purely about feeling good about yourself and eating the right things to get yourself out of that depression. We all know that when I'm feeling sad, I binge eat, you know, and some people, when they're feeling sad, they'll drink alcohol excessively, do drugs. And the reason I want to talk about it is because I really want to raise awareness on the fact that, you know, looking after your gut is just a simple thing. Again, it's all the simple steps that actually lead to the positives of the other bigger steps, you know? So lots to talk about. As always, please like, comment, share, follow along for the journey. Come along, offer your insights as well. So I look forward to talking to you all of you. Take care. Have an amazing week for the rest of the week, depending on when you can listen to this. It's like I say, it's Sunday the 11th for me. Season 2, episode 1. So fucking welcome, happy new year, and let's smash out 2026 together. All right, take care, everybody. I'll speak to you soon.